Hi, I'm Rob from HopZine.com. Thanks for joining me for another video beer review. This time we are looking at a bottle of ESB Extra Special Bitter from Fullers in Chiswick, 5.9% ABV. This is a funny one for me. Personally, I'm not a massive kind of traditional beer drinker, as in kind of like British bitter, mild, that kind of thing, golden ales. So it got me thinking, and it got me reading actually. I had a look at Michael Jackson's New World Guide to Beer, which was first published in 1988. As I said, it's not a style that I'm kind of massively familiar with. You mean I know my particular ones, you mean I know Fuller's, I know like Timothy Taylor's Landlord and all that kind of style of beer, and Jennings. You mean kind of traditional old school beers. It's not something I drink a lot of, but I kind of understand it to an extent. So I had a bit of a read in that book just before I did this review, just to kind of get a bit more of an insight of what bitter is. Because this is, and essentially bitter is that kind of drink that a man traditionally, I'm not being sexist, but a man would traditionally drink after a hard day's work, go down the pub and have quite a number of pints. And obviously there were lower ABVs, but the intention was this within British brewing, they wanted to keep the ABV low and the bitterness relatively high in the scheme of things. Really, I mean the low ABV beers with a relatively high, around like 50 EBUs actually, European bitterness units. So that the malt was kind of set back and the hop bitterness would shine through. I guess traditional beers, less traditional beers, more kind of American style stuff, will have a lot more late hops, a lot more hop flavour, hop aroma, complementing the bitterness of a beer. But I guess this is the whole thing, it's a bitter. A lot of time it's referred to as an ordinary bitter. I mean, if you look at kind of Young's bitter and things like that traditionally. What I'm really familiar with from drinking in Huddersfield, Batham's, and people love Batham's beer. Personally, I don't like it, it's full of diacetyl. I mean, Timothy Taylor's Landlord, a bit of diacetyl in there, it's not for me, but I mean, some people absolutely adore that beer. But this one, in the time of writing of that book in 1988, was the strongest bitter to be brewed at that time, continuously. So, I thought, it's about time. I actually bought this because Terry Kay was going to do a Tasty Tuesday of Fuller's beers, but he cancelled it at the last minute, so I was left with this bottle. But I thought I'd give it a go, and I thought I'd just educate myself a little bit on the kind of certain aspects of beer that I'm very guilty of overlooking. Because I came into beer drinking like fancy lagers and Belgian beer, and then like stuff like Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. So I kind of bypassed all this business. But the whole thing of this idea of bitter. What is bitter? Because nowadays, you don't see used that much, even in kind of a traditional kind of real ale pub. You won't see many bitters. You'll have a lot of blondes and you'll have a lot of golden ales and stuff like that. But I'd say this style has been kind of forgotten about to a certain extent. As I said, you'll have Young's and you'll have kind of Landlord and beers like that, which are definitely kind of like the kind of more prominent traditional bitters, very old style beers. But then what's kind of most prevalent in the average real ale pub, especially around my way, lots of blonde ales, lots of golden ales, lots of kind of pale ales, but very much departed from this. So this is essentially all it was a bitter, a traditional ordinary bitter brewed at a higher gravity, hence it being special, extra special. Anyway, so beer in the glass, very much what you'd expect. It's a reddish copper, which is the most prevalent kind of colour, Michael Jackson says, for this kind of style of beer. And it's Fullers, so they're definitely going to be on the money on that one. And very much a little soapy suds top, like a bowl of spent washing up water. I mean, just a little sudsy film. So let's check out the aroma. I've gone for the traditional beer glass. I mean, I've got a nice round edge on the round lip to the glass. Heavy. This kind of glass is meant to stand the test of time. Over 300 uses are expected for a beer glass of this type. I personally use kind of a bit more fancy glassware from Spiegelau, Riedel, that kind of thing, which they'll be either nicked by people in pubs or they'll just get broken. But this beer and this glass are going to stand the test of time. So let's check out the aroma and see what it's all about. How odd. It reminds me of kind of your grandma's perfume. It's like, yeah, there's a wet leaf thing going on. There is a hint of diacetyl there, kind of wholemeal bread without a doubt. Like kind of, yeah, oaty biscuits. There's some kind of sweetness in there, like a caramel or a red apple. Yeah, that smells alright. But that smells so much different to any kind of beer I ever drink. Kind of beer, it's very spicy, very earthy, very British. I personally, as you might have seen my reviews before, I'm definitely on that kind of big hop aroma. Big fruit bowl, big citrus, that's my kind of hop aroma. But this is different, but very nice within itself. Anyway, I've been waffling far too long and I still haven't got into this beer. So let's dive in. Cheers, I'm absolutely spitting feathers. It has got quite a lot of bitterness. I've got to say that from off the bat. First beer of the day. It's Sunday afternoon. I have a couple of beers on Sunday afternoon if I'm not doing anything. Oh yeah, it's very prickly, quite a savoury, kind of spiky hop bitterness. Very perfumed, as I said before. No idea what hops they're using in this. Probably stuff. Definitely English hops. I mean, Fullers primarily use English hops. He's Kent Golding, so I wouldn't be surprised. Yes. Dandelions. There's a slight honey note in there, like a waxy honey. Maybe a slight sarsaparilla kind of thing going on. The bitterness is quite high. I don't know what the EBUs would be on this. It's quite up there. Slight kind of buttery note, but not much. There is it's very slight. It's not diacetyl, but something which is kind of more Withers original. That kind of slightly buttered toffee. What's in there? Probably quite a bit of crystal malt in here, and from that I get kind of like a white pepper, maybe a hint of rye bread. It's definitely like kind of hint of rye, more kind of wholemeal bread. Digestive without a doubt. But the big thing about this beer is dulled lemon bitterness. It's kind of like a slightly old, it's kind of like dry lemon. It's not tart and zesty. It is literally bitter. Spicy, slight red apple, and then a perfumed kind of tickle at the back of the throat as it's going down. I mean, it's not my preferred kind of style of beer. I think I'm going to ease my way into this, no doubt, and I'm sure I'll enjoy it by the end of it. It is really quite bitter, and I think the thing that stands out to me from this beer, because of that bitterness, and the thing that really jumps out is the fact that it isn't very balanced. And I guess that was the entire point, as I was saying earlier. It's all about bitterness opposed to hop flavour and hop aroma. Good carbonation. Yeah, you can see it in the glass. Good amount of carbonation. But it's not bringing out it's not intended to bring out a lot of hop flavour. The hop bitterness is very much more pronounced. I'm surprised how bitter this beer is. Yeah, the flavour's balanced and the flavour's very traditional, but that bitterness is really quite high. As I said, I've never reviewed this beer before. A friend of mine hates this beer, so I always kind of stay clear of it. But I'm glad I tried it because it's been a bit of an eye opener, to be honest. Because I mean, even within my beer kind of like snobbery, I'm not going to say I'm not. I mean, I'm a slightly kind of elitist when it comes to kind of fancy beers. I mean, alcohol's not good for you, so I'm going to pick the stuff that I like. I'm going to pick stuff which I find exciting. But I'm glad I've tried this because I normally wouldn't, and it's been a bit of an eye opener. I'm surprised that beer is quite as bitter as it is, and quite slightly unbalanced. But I'd say absolutely spot on for the style because, as I said, traditionally Michael Jackson said it was all about the bitterness. Anyway, I'm waffling now. I've been waffling far too much. I'm going to end this review now. Don't worry. So that's a bottle of Fullers ESB Extra Special Bitter, 5.9% ABV. No messing around, that's a big-ish beer. Even for this kind of beer, that's a serious ABV, is that? Plenty of bitterness. I mean, that's 50 upwards. I mean, if it could be 60, 70 or something. That's a bitter beer. Might be the style of hops. Anyway, you can see, if we were sat across from each other in a pub, I'd be rattling on about this all night long because it's really kind of taken me by surprise. 5.9% ABV from Fullers in Chiswick. If you've never had this, try it out. If you haven't had it for ages, you know, as much a beer ponce as I am, clearly, get out there, try a box. It's going to surprise you. Anyway, I'm Rob from HopZine.com. I've been talking far too much. Not enough drinking, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.